Well, a documentary about selling Girl Scout cookies. There can't be anything evil about that, can there? What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's documentary movie review of Cookie Queens, the film that is directed by Alysa Nahmias. Okay, so in this documentary that is about four young girls named Ara, Nikki, Olive, and Shannon Elizabeth, the story basically revolves around them selling Girl Scout cookies during Girl Scout cookie season. So, what does that entail? They get a bunch of cookies, they try to sell for various prizes, various things, and it basically follows them in the stresses and the fun and the camaraderie that entails when it comes to just like being part of a thing that has been popular for many decades. But it's a movie about these four young girls and how they approach the idea of selling cookies, whether it be shooting videos and playing songs and dancing and just doing everything they can. And then we see various successes on how that works. And once again, it is a story about the four young girls, but it also is a little bit of a detriment to what the world that is Girl Scout cookie selling can be to the families and the society and stuff like that. So that in essence is what Cookie Queens is a story about these four girls and the thing about selling Girl Scout cookies. So the trailer for this documentary has been premiering everywhere. I've seen it like a billion times. It would look like a cute movie documentary about the four girls. I was expecting, something like what it takes to sell Girl Scout cookies and so on and so forth. I believe this premiered at Sundance, so it has garnered a pretty decent review category. But when it comes to a movie like this, a documentary, you have to have intrigue, you have to have interest, you have to have a little bit of deep introspective and retrospective on what the Girl Scout cookie world is. But so for my honest review of this documentary and how I feel about it, the difficulties of something like this really shine through in a very interesting, positive fashion. I actually really enjoyed this documentary because not only does it do the positive side, but it also goes into a little bit of the negative side about the stresses, about the difficulty, about the almost like manipulation that this Girl Scout cookie company has done. And it has full spectrum of the world of selling Girl Scout cookies, and therefore I think the director Alyssa has done a really nice job of even-handedly approaching this scenario, because it allows these four young girls, Ari, Nikki, Olive, and Shannon, to put themselves out there and represent themselves and be unique, because they're very unique girls and they have very unique perspectives. But it's also very adorable watching some of the scenarios they go through. Yes, they realize they're on camera, so they probably play it up a little bit, but the idea that they approach it so differently, but they also have this drive to basically to sell cookies, to have a purpose, is really fascinating. And on top of everything, the parents really give a different interesting perspective that may be a little dark when it comes to pushing their kids. And even the kids approach that scenario where they're like, maybe you're pushing me a little too hard. So therefore I felt the movie really did a nice job of showing all sides of the story, because the Girl Scout company is a company. It is a there to make profit. And sometimes it can feel very manipulative. And I think Alyssa, the director Alyssa, has done a really nice job of showing that. And it makes me a little angry that these girls are put in a scenario where their families could be upfronting the cash if they don't sell all the cookies. And you see that with one of the girls in this movie, when they're like going out in the middle of the storms and they're trying to sell, and it's cold and it's freezing. The whole idea of selling Girl Scout cookies and the whole idea of the Girl Scout initiative, like the Boy Scouts, is to build friendships and to build all this stuff. And here it's just sell us cookies, $6 a box, blah 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 blah. And it's really kind of dark and really disturbing a little bit. I was not expecting to go into a movie like this and to feel a little bit of anger for what is happening. And I don't think the director was attempting to make you want to feel angry. I just think they were attempting to make you understand that this is a very weird and creative situation. I mean, I was in Boy Scouts for a couple years, but this level of like selling, it's a billion-dollar industry, and it shows. We love the Girl Scout cookies, we love Thin Mints, we love a lot, but it's a really interesting take on something I was not expecting, because I was expecting just four girls selling cookies, and you realize that it goes much deeper than that. But I have to say the positives is like these four young girls are just so much fun to watch, and to watch them kind of create different scenarios for themselves to sell cookies, and they do it in different levels of success. But it's just they're very adorable to watch. They're very having a lot of fun, and they get excited, but they also have lives, and they have personalities, and they have worries and all that stuff, and sometimes the parents push them too far, and it feels human on these girls, and I love every single one of them. I think they do even pretty decent job, and once again, they have different backgrounds and different scenarios. So I think the director does a nice job of showing all ends of the spectrum, whether it be a girl who's dealing with diabetes and how does she sell cookies, and she plays a piano. And then you have the one girl who comes from a family that wants to go to Europe, and like her sister used to sell cookies, and she's very much a teenager now. And then you have one girl who's from a Native American tribe and stuff like that, and it's watching them try to struggle to sell cookies. And then you have the one girl who sells like thousands of boxes of cookies, and is trying to be like the top girl, and is on the news and stuff like that. It really is just a different grouping, but it's all the same story about what it's like to sell cookies, and what it's like for girls to feel accomplished, and what it feels like to have passion, and watching them become friends and all that stuff. I love the balance of this movie. It's one of those movies where it's not my top 10, but I think it's a very justifiable documentary. And because documentaries are skewed one way or another based on the person that directs, is logic and reason. That's what documentaries do. I think this one is more straightforward and more even, and is not only a condemnation of the Girl Scout company, but also gives us what it's like for young girls who feel pressured, but also feel like they love doing this type of stuff. So I really enjoyed this documentary. I highly recommend it. It is one of the more interesting documentaries I've seen this year. So yeah, that's Cookie Queens in a nutshell. So there you go. But with that said, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. In the comments below, if you were in the Girl Scouts, let me know what that was like, if it's very similar to this documentary. If not, tell me your negatives and positives. If not, of course, tell me what you think of the movie. But otherwise, if you like what you see on the channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.